Understanding emotion. Let's just start this chapter with a slightly different question. How am I feeling? Or more precisely, how was I feeling? When I was 13, I'm the victim of daily bullying in school. My dad pushed me to do martial arts to toughen me up. The big day finally came. I had to perform a series of kicks, punches, blocks, and self-defense moves. I was so nervous I didn't even want to meet Mom in the studio. So she waited in the car. Of all the 5 ruler skills required to be an emotional scientist, this is one of the most challenging to acquire. In the previous chapter, we learned about the importance of being able to discern our own feelings and to read, at a glance or soon thereafter, someone else's overall emotional state. And with that, we took the important first step toward emotional well-being. Now the real work begins. Here is where we have to decide whether we even wish to understand what may have caused our own or other person's feelings. This is certainly true of our own feelings. There are plenty of times when it's the easiest to take whatever emotion we're experiencing and hide it in an airtight compartment to be dealt with a more convenient time. This is also the moment of a truth when we are faced with exploring someone else's feelings. It's like opening Pandora's box. We don't know what will emerge or how it will affect us, or most critically, what we'll expect it to do about it. Although it's a drama is triggered by a single word, why? Why this feeling? Why now? Understanding emotions begin when we start to answer the question, why do you or I feel this way? What is the underlying reason for this feeling? What's causing it? It's a really simple matter. There may be a complex web of events or memories of one emotion provoking another. Usually, asking one question will lead to more questions, a succession of follow-ups, and they can go deep. Like peeling the layers of the onion. No wonder it's so scary. Once we start asking, there is no turning back. Understanding emotion is a journey, possibly an adventure. When it's finished, we may find ourselves in someplace new, someplace unexpected, somewhere perhaps we have no intention of going. And yet, there we are, wiser than before, maybe wiser than we wish it to be. But there is no other way forward. If we are faced with emotions of someone close to us, the loved one, a valued colleague, a good friend, the stakes are even higher, because now there is a distinct possibility that we are somehow complicit, that something we've said or done or failed to do is the reason for the difficult feelings that confront us. Here's where we're taking a deep breath before we start digging. This I can imagine now is how my parents must have felt during the worst days of their childhood. What if this is our fault? The core skill of understanding is to search for underlying theme or possible cause that fuels the emotion. We are not asking questions, and the listening to answers just to prove it is sympathetic ear. Okay. Sympathetic ear. As we listen, we are looking for the meaning that goes deeper than the words being said. I hate school, and I'm never going back. That's important information, but only if we know what to do with it. What's the cause? Is this a child afraid of something related to school? Possibly. There are times that we hate what we fear. What causes fear? Is it like theme and a danger, threat? So, perhaps in this instance the hate equals danger, in which case we know the direction our next question should take. Now, when you ask, what's happening in school that makes me hate it so much? We know what to listen for. A potential source of danger, a difficult teacher, an impending bad report card, a schoolyard bully. We suspect a student there somewhere, and we gently investigate until we find it. This is how a scientist operates, with a theory that will be either proved or disproved by further investigation. Maybe it's not fear that's fueling the emotion. Perhaps it's a disappointment or shame. In every case, there is one or a couple of needs or emotional states underlying our feelings, and that's what understanding helps us to find. We also need to keep in mind what psychologists refer to as an appraisal theory. Many emotions, both positive and negative, have universal underlying themes, but their individual causes varying from person to person. All day, each of us rapidly, and even unconsciously, evaluate the situations or experiences, and these evaluations lead to different emotions. But what makes you feel excited about public speaking by making you feel terrified? What stress, fear, or anxiety into a core of one person may scarcely restrain another, but what matters is the person's experience. That's what we are trying to identify, so we can address it. That's another part of emotion scientists' skill set. The ability to put aside one's own appraisals so we can comprehend and empathize with those of other people. Acquiring the understanding skill is not always such an easy process. Typically, the need to understand an emotion increases with its intensity. The stronger the feeling, the higher the stakes. This is true for us all, but especially for children who don't have the vocabulary, prefrontal cortical circuitry, or presence of mind to make their innermost feelings clear. When a child says, "I hate you," as most probably do sooner or later, we recoil. There are few things more disparaging a parent can hear, but hate isn't really the issue. Those words are fueled by something impossible in the moment to articulate. It's the listener's job to remain calm and to try to hear the words that aren't being said yet. Now, with all that in mind, let's go back to the four quadrants of the mood and matter and start there. Within each quadrant, there exists a wide range of individual emotions. Knowing these can help us direct our questions. Yellow, as we've said, is where the high pleasantness, high energy feelings are located. These are the emotions of joy, surprise, and excitement, among many others. What's causing them? Something positive and possibly unexpected has happened, and we are celebrating inside. We've made significant steps toward an important goal. We are anticipating an event or experiencing that will make us happy. The red quadrant denotes unpleasant emotions that are highly energy. It's red for a reason. This is where anger, fear, anxiety all are situated. Because these are in some way similar, it's easy to confuse them. This mistake when you're trying to determine what feelings are dictating someone's actions. Red also isn't the passion lives. Emotions into contrast generally make us hyper alert, wanting to our perception of a position. It's the fight or flight response to raise our heart rate, respiration, and blood pressure. When angry, we are focusing on someone or something external treating us unfairly, unjustly. Our attention is pointing outward. Hypervibrant, assertive. When fearful, we are alerting impending danger. When you're passionate, our desire to convince others that our views are correct. Blue is a space where pleasantness and energy are both low, meaning we might be somewhere on the sadness, depression, or continuum. Our thinking is narrowly focused and pessimistic. We are looking inward and focusing on failure, loss, and whatever else might be causing these feelings. Green is the space where the pleasantness is high and the energy is low. This is a place of the mood matter where we generally feel calm and content. Our body and mind are at ease and we feel complete. Our thoughts are focused on ways to appreciate the present moment. Our need to solve problems and fix things is at a minimum. Now that we know the content, our emotional space, we are raised to zero in one specifics. These are some of the questions we can ask when we are trying to understand our own feelings. What just happened? What was it doing before this happened? What might have caused my feelings or reaction? What happened this morning or last night that might be involved in this? What has happened before with this person that might be connected? It's the event that your emotion has to do with the relationship. What memories do I have about the situation or place? When we are acting as an emotion scientist with someone else, we can ask the other person, what might have happened to cause this feeling? What usually makes you feel this way? What's going on you are feeling this way? What were you doing just before you started feeling this way? Or you would. What do you need right now? What can I do for you? As teaching exercise, why sometimes they have children read a story then ask them, what does their character feel? What does he or she feel this way? What do you think might have caused this character feel this way? What about what happened to the character helps you to understand his or her feelings? If the same thing happened to you, what do you think you would feel? We can better understand emotions and their linked causes and their ramifications by considering them in pairs and groupings. We can develop pattern recognition to help us know what questions to ask as we search for the truth. For example, shame, guilt, and embarrassment. Shame is judgment but from the outside. From our perception that other people believe we broke a moral and ethical rule or some shared convention. We believe we are diminished in their eyes. A great deal of belief in them is the victim, and the resulting isolation comes from this more than and the physical suffering. Guilt is a judgment we make of ourselves when we feel remorse or responsibility for something we did, usually something that feels wrong. Embarrassment is when we're being caught violation of some social norms, such as how to dress for an occasion, or which folks to use, or how to behave in a certain situation. We all have plenty of such moments and go far out of our ways to avoid them. These three all seem closely related to our emotional lives, but researchers have found that they have unique psychological causes and cognitive behavioral consequences, which should remind us to distinguish among them When we are searching for the reason, we feel them. Jealousy and envy. Often we use the word jealousy and envy to mean the same thing, but they are different emotions. Jealousy is a form of fear of losing someone important to you, especially to someone else. We've all witnessed and sometimes have experienced a romantic or sexual jealousy that is coupled with anger or even rage. It's a combustible combination. Children can be jealous of a sibling or classmate when they perceive their parents or teachers spending more time with the other children. They're jealous because they feel threatened and they fear the loss of another relationship with adult, or that they are being cheated out of valuable relationship time. Envy, on the other hand, has to do with wanting something that someone else has. Again, it could be a personal thing, a position, even a reputation. Envy is caused by combating something that is not ours. Envy could lead us to focus on efforts, work hard to attain something desired. In that case, it may be a force for good, but it can also be the opposite. It can lead to resentment or even to aggression toward the person who hasn't what we desire. Joy and contentment. In most dictionaries, the definition of joy and contentment are nearly identical, states of being happy and satisfied. But are they really the same? On the mood matter, we tend to place energy in the yellow country, high pleasantness and energy, whereas contentment is in a green quadrant, high pleasantness but low energy. We do this for a reason. Both the subject experience and the core operations that cause these emotions are different. Joy feels energetic, and contentment feels calm and joy caused by a sense of getting. While one wants to know, contentment is caused by a sense of completeness, not wanting or needing anything. For most of us in the West, the joy is something we strive for, the pursuit of happiness. Contentment, however, is more a state of psychological balance, not something we actively pursue. We feel contentment when we cherish the present moment. Research has highlighted the ways in which happiness facilitates creativity and social bonds. But what kind of happiness are we referring to? Paradoxical to what we've been taught. The constant pursuit of happiness can be self-defeating. Accumulated research shows that the more we value happiness, the more likely we will feel disappointed. Thus, although happiness is often seen as highly desirable, we need to distinguish between the different kinds of happiness. Not all of its forms are beneficial for all purposes in life and in every situation. Stress and pleasure. Stress can be deceptive because it becomes such an catch-all tool for children and adults alike. Or interlude I had with the students in a perfect example. Here's an email removing all identifying information. She sent me at 9 p.m. on a Sunday before the midterm exam. Hey professor, I don't know. We well enough to know how you feel about these kind of things. But I was wondering if I could take a makeup exam regarding the dean's excuse. I was playing a tournament all weekend. Wake up at 6:30 every morning. If you want verification, you can go to the website, and I thought I could study every evening, but my parents came with my sister and have gone out to eat with them, and I had banquet with the team one night. Anyway, now I can start studying, but I'm so fucking tired and stressed, and like to sleep, but I have the exam tomorrow, so I understand if you say so. Please let me know as soon as possible, however, so I know if I can sleep right now or not. Entitlement and disrespect triggers in for me. So I did what any good professor would do. I didn't respond. Better than that writing is something I later regret. Truth is, I did reply, but not until after the exam the following day. She didn't show up for the exam. When she returned to the class, I approached her and said, "I'm not sure about that email." She said, "But you're such a fun professor." I said, "Fun is one thing, but your email wasn't really off." A week later she came to me and said, "I've really thought a lot of what happened, and I want to apologize." I thanked her, and I'd really like to work for you, she said. Surprised, I asked her, "What are you interested in?" "I'm not really sure," she said, "but when I decided on what I do in your center, I'll let you know." Again, I was triggered. Who is this entitled? In that moment, I decided to make her an emotional intelligence project. I asked her to come see me during office hours. Once there, I said, "First, you sent an email about the not taking an exam. Then you gave me an attitude in class. Then you said and let me know what you're interested in. You're figure it out. Tell me something. What's going on?" She said she wasn't under tremendous stress like every other college students. I thought. "What's really going on?" I asked. She told me that her grandmother had just passed away, that her mother has in fear of dying, that her mother texted her 10 times per day, and wants her to go home every weekend, or she wants her to come to campus to visit her. That sounded like something more than a typical college student stress. Stress is a response to many demands and not enough resources. Managing both family or work responsibilities and financial burdens. To meet them, pressure is a situation in which you perceive and that's something that's taken and dependent on the outcome of your performance, like performing in front of a group or acting an interview. In the end, my student really needed support dealing with it for sure. Pressure her mother wasn't putting on her. She had misattributed the pressure as a stress of other stuff, such as sports, school, my exam, and so on. It was easy to blame those things than to address the real source of emotional tense in her life, her parent. But I wouldn't have learned any of that had it been turned up in her attitude, which came across in a pure arrogance. I had to probe up and keep probing. The questions we ask to understand someone's feeling and necessarily encourage the answers that go being a simple yes or no, or I feel angry, or I feel sad, and so on. We are emotion scientists, remember? We are trying to uncover the deepest of feelings. But we are not just elaborating questions, we are also sending unspoken messages as we make our inquiries. I'm talking about the number of cues we display, the facial expressions, body language, and vocal tone that say we are genuinely interested in the answers, that we care about the feelings of the person to whom we are talking, and that we're willing to give the conversation the time and attention it deserves. If I ask about your feelings, but I am glancing at my phone, or at the clock of the bar, or if I am running away from you with an arms crossed and my eyes narrowed, the message is clear. I don't really want to know. I'm just waiting for you to say something, anything, so I can cut this talk short and do something else. Sorry. I may even send this destructive message. I already know what you're going to say, and I definitely am going to push back. That's not attitude an emotion scientist. It's how an emotion judge approaches the situation, just waiting to hear enough to blame you for your feelings and then to shut this conversation down. You may remember the story I told earlier about my uncle Marvin and how he got me to open up. He didn't have any trick questions or techniques. He just interested in me and how I felt, and his obvious desire to help me were all I took. It's impossible to fake. Understanding is where the science of emotion really becomes a pursuit. Almost detective story. If my mother and father had asked me the day of the Aikido task, Mark, what's wrong? I guarantee that my reply would have been something like, I hate you, leave me alone. A mistaken expression of praise, but not much else in useful there, clearly. I was expressing an inability or unwillingness to discuss at that moment what was really going on. Why that might have been was anybody's guess. Even I would have been her, pause and explain my feelings. So, how could my parents know? This is how the investigation behind understanding often goes. We are not catching someone at the best moment. It may be the time of terrible suffering and the shame. It will be hard to expect lucid clean-headed analysis from anyone, especially from a child who does not have any developed emotional vocabulary or the ability to articulate and encompass feelings whilst experiencing them. Every parent has been through this and knows exactly what I'm talking about. The situation gets worse when adults misinterpret emotional information, say humiliation rather than malice, and act on the most conspicuous evidence. Recognizing that something is wrong isn't only the first step. The skill of recognition is most valuable for the information is applied and help us and begin to understand what is really happening underneath. An emotion offers the signals that something is going wrong, but it doesn't tell us what. We need to grant the permission to feel and then ask the right questions. If we wish to know what's behind that at first, put yourself in the place of a second grade teacher. 12 year students, Iron and Leah, are working together on a science project. It is nearly finished on Lizard's task. All of a sudden, Ian jumps up from his seat, takes an swing at Lizard's desk, shouts in her face, I hate you, and stomps out of the classroom. This project flies across the room. Lisa picks up the ruined project and starts crying. You're not going to have an easy time. Coming either try the down, and ask them the questions necessary to figure out what just happened and why. So all you can do is guess. How was it about Lisa's be feeling? Aaron wasn't belligerent, even violent. What brought that why? It seems clear who was an aggressor and who was the victim. If you are their teacher, the first thing you might do is help Aaron calm down and then ask him to apologize. Nothing Aaron did and excuse his outburst. And you'll be right. If your main goal wasn't to teach them both and lesson social skills and what is acceptable versus an unacceptable classroom behavior, this is a kind of sudden explosion that happens in a classroom all the time, just as it happens in homes among siblings. A first impulse is restoring order so we can go on with our lives. This is a critical moment in our attempts to understand emotions. It's easy to get this in part wrong. We focus on the behavior rather than what might have caused it. It's like treating a symptom and not the disease. As a result, the best we manage to do is modify behavior by force, and this distracts us from underlying causes. Had we been able to restrain or impose to control and punish, what might we have done differently in that classroom? Certain behaviors such as iron has to be addressed, but rather than cast one child as a wrongdoer and the other as an innocent victim, we might have withheld judgment and talked to them separately, asking a few simple questions. What happened? How are you feeling? And why do you feel that way? Had their teacher done that and then pursued the answers and through enemies followed all questions as I took, she might have learned something interesting. 10 minutes before its explosion, the children were playing at recess in front of all other kids. Lisa announced that Ira wasn't in the bed. Even worse, she revealed that the source of her information was Nova's little sister. To some, that still might not make a difference. Anne was in the wrong, no matter how humiliated she felt. But pushing him or making apologies is nothing about what caused the incident. If we had gotten to the root of Ira's anger, we might have helped him find the other way to respond to similar provocations in the future. And if there wasn't a reason Lisa did what she did, and we traded it more than that too. Understanding requires the use of the storytelling ability, perspective taking skills, and a pattern setting the piece together and concentrations of feelings and events that lead to the current situation. It begins with being an emotional scientist, not a judge. If you aren't asked questions, you haven't acquired the skill yet. If you aren't listening to the answers, you're using the skill. The emotion scientists have a general desire to understand and acknowledge that all emotions are information. Until we understand the causes of emotion, we'll never really be able to help ourselves, our kids, or our colleagues. Okay.